For foreign artists, it's all about connection.
Get your courage, have some discipline, be motivated, and just do it.
So don't need to be rich, don't need to have like a lot of money.
How did you define your own opportunities?
You can apply for entrepreneur visa, which is very helpful. So before I talk about the forum, I would like to start saying that if you have any questions, please kindly wait until the end to ask them. And please write your questions on the chat, because we will have a 20 minutes Q&A session where our guests will be more than happy to answer all your questions. So any questions you have, just put them in the chat and we will go through them later. And now this forum, I would like to talk just a little bit about the forum. It's put together by Meet Expat entrepreneurs at Shanghai, which is a project organized by the Institute of Culture and Creative Industry at Jiaotong University of Shanghai. That's a mouthful, isn't it? In collaboration with well-known organizations such as Shanghai Invest, is a bureau from the government, VivirChina, Any Helper, everybody knows Any Helper, and the Teller's Tribe. So the aim of this project is to showcase foreigners who own businesses here in Shanghai to share their experiences and challenges, and so we can all benefit from learning about the entrepreneurial practices and the road to success. And for this purpose, we have created also several foreign and local video channels, like in YouTube, in the official account that you've probably seen already, TikTok, Douyin. And so please support our projects by subscribing, because this way we can continue to make such cool free webinars. And so I believe my colleague has actually shared the information in the forum chats. Let's see. Can you please, Yuxing, share the information and the QR code as well? Thank you very much. And the purpose of this online webinar is to share live the best entrepreneurial practices, like what works and what doesn't in such a challenging market as Shanghai market, right? Especially during the pandemic situation. So for this today, we have two amazing guests. Mr. Charley, is that Charley Atten? How to pronounce it?
That's right, Charley Atten, yeah.
Excellent, Charley Atten. And we have, thank you so much for attending. And we have also Mr. Paul Desio. Thank you, Paul, for attending. So Charley Atten is the founder of Elevates. He's gonna talk about it in a minute. And Paul is the co-founder and director of Wow. Is that Wow? How do you pronounce it? Wow, right?
UAU.
UAU. Okay, I prefer Wow, but anyway, UAU. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Paul, for coming, and Charley. We appreciate it. So let's get started with the guest speaker's self-introduction, beginning with Charley, please. So Charley, would you kindly introduce yourself and your company for us? Go ahead and start your PPT.
Sure. Let's see if this works. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes, I will do this thing you mentioned earlier. 1 second. Is that correct? Yeah, Charley, elevate.
Yeah, I think so.
Spotlight. Yeah. Brilliant.
All right. Cool. Thank you, David. It's very nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me. It's very nice to be alongside Paul as well, old friend of mine. And good to see some familiar faces in the attendees. Shout out to Henry Joe. So I'm going to try and introduce Elevate in 10 minutes. It's a bit of a challenge. I could speak for hours about our story and who we are and what we do, but let's just get cracking, shall we? If I go a minute or two over, I apologize in advance. So starting with the founders, I should say we're an arts company first, right? We're an arts company. It will become more clear what we do and what we've done as we go on. There's me. This is in 2018. There's Igor, and here's Chaddy. So I met Igor in London And then I came here to open this company, and we looked for a third business partner, and we found Chaddy, who was helping artists sell art in the city. And we came up with this 3-part ecosystem that we wanted to run our organization according to. The first part was events, so live performance and art events, art fairs and markets. The second part was content and community. So we would put out regular exhibition reviews, art listings, artist profiles onto our WeChat account. Pardon me, just had dinner. And we would have online and offline communities. So we have a bunch of WeChat groups that we try and keep active and keep updated. And then the third one was agency work. So representing artists to commercial clients and for commissions, and also helping them sell their works. And the idea was that these 3 things are each an entry point into Elevate. So you might come to an event and then you scan our WeChat and you find some content and then you think, oh, maybe I want to buy some art. Okay, great. Or in another way, you might be recommended, oh, this artist can paint your wall or do a mural, or they might have something, they can.
Oh, I think we lost him. Can you guys hear Charlie?
No, it's frozen.
Oh, interesting. Something might have happened to his computer. Okay. Then in that case, I think we have no choice but to let Paul start, and maybe Charlie can join us and finish his presentation later. Is that okay, Paul?
Yeah, sure. No, for me, no problem. Should we wait 2 seconds to see? But
yeah, let's wait just about 20-30 seconds to Charlie, see if he can join us again.
see if
He probably has some trouble with the computer.
Probably pulled a wire accidentally.
Oh.
Sometimes when you get carried away and you try to focus, only your feet gets caught in a wire. Maybe, I don't know.
It's weird. Maybe there's been some trouble with the internet as well. Perhaps could be. Anyway, so it seems that Charlie's having some problem to present at the moment. So no problem. We can give him time to prepare, and later he will continue with the presentation. Can you, Paul, go ahead and start introducing yourself and your company?
Sure.
Okay.
Are we back?
Is that Charlie? I think
Charlie?
back. Are you back,
Hiya.
Charlie?
Yeah. Was I not around?
Yeah,
you were not around for like about 3 minutes, something like that. We
shit.
completely
Okay.
lost you. Yeah.
Oh no. All right. So did you see this?
We did not see anything. You just froze, and then that's it. We lost you. So
Great
if you
timing.
can, yeah. It doesn't matter, no problem. If you can continue, maybe can you start resharing your computer?
Oh,
Your screen?
it's still sharing on my screen. That's odd.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let
that's
me
weird.
try again.
Okay. Yeah. Go.
it was sharing.
Okay.
All right.
How about now?
Yes.
Can you see now?
Yeah. We can see you. And let me
All
see.
right, here we go again. I'll try and be quick so that it doesn't make the event too long.
Okay.
Okay, so here's me.
So this part we've seen it already. You can go ahead to the next slide. Yes. Yeah.
Have we seen this?
Yes, we've seen up to the point where you already talked about the art sales representation. Maybe you can start from there, from the sales and representation part.
Okay, that's fine. So then we agreed some values. So we have our business model, we have our ecosystem, and we want it to be a values-led organization, so that these are of equal importance, but they're the values that we agreed on. One was artistic excellence. It kind of goes without saying, but I think it's very important. We do believe there's such thing as good and bad art, and we strive to create excellent art, or feature and bolster excellent art. Another thing is accessibility. We never wanted anybody to not be able to enjoy what we do because of the amount of income they make. So our ticket prices have always been quite low, and we always try and make concessions for students, elderly, disabled, wherever possible. High quality audience experience. All of our events, we take the audience as the core, thinking very carefully about their journeys from the very beginning, from the moment they enter the door, all the way through until the end, making sure that they have everything they need and have something to really remember, create a memory of. Collaboration, working with other arts organizations and venues. Support for established and new artists. One of the reasons we're called Elevate is because we wanted to take new artists and semi-established artists and elevate them to the next part of their career or their creative journey or whatever. And community, which I already spoke about in the last slide. Give you an idea of a few of the projects. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Just checking. Yeah, we can hear you and see you perfectly.
Good. So this is a project that I started in 2018 called Art Drop. This was a monthly subscription service. I'd work with a new artist every month, produce a print of theirs, share some information of theirs, and accompany it with a music playlist and some movie recommendations. And it would be all wrapped up in this tube, which you'd get through the post for 100 kuai a month. Our first exhibition, this was called Faces of the World, Faces of the Earth, with a German-born Chinese photographer. And this was at Urban Cross, which was a gallery that used to exist on Donghu Road, Fumin Road. Just a few photos of that. So in 2019, we were founded right at the end of 2018. So 2019 was our kind of big launch year. We did 60 events, 4 exhibitions, and about 15 workshops. So it's a lot if you take it into account. Like, this was actually 11 months. So we had 1 or 2 things going on every week. Just show some pictures of those things. So these are a few of the exhibitions we did in different places around the city. We hosted talks, like artist talks, but also cultural talks. This one was about the history of art in China, in modern China. Seminars with different galleries, with different venues. This was about social inclusion. This was the artist Malion up at Danis Gallery. Workshops, as I said, all related to art or unlocking creativity in both children and adults. Live art events, we'd have a lot of live painting stuff, often DJs, with drinks, with music. This one was a monthly event we held where people could come and see a bunch of artists, making stuff, meet them, and then buy directly from them. Some performance stuff. We did a comedy sketch show and a bit of theatre and a bit of dance, as well as some more DJing stuff. And parties. We like to party a lot, so we throw 1 or 2 parties a month in different clubs around Shanghai. So everything seemed to be going pretty well, but there were some challenges. Seeing as we're talking about entrepreneurship, I think anyone interested in entrepreneurship is always interested not just in success stories, but in the hurdles that people have to overcome, right? First of all, I burned out. I was working 12 to 14 hours a day for at least 6 days a week, often 7 days a week. And I got really ill. I had to go to hospital for a bit. And also just, a lot of my personal relationships suffered from the amount of time that I was putting into all of this. Chaddy had to go home. Personal reasons meant he had to move closer to his family. And we had some ongoing licensing issues. So arts activities involving foreigners in Shanghai are difficult to scale. They abide by an entirely different set of rules to arts activities that involve Chinese people. And those rules are often very difficult to navigate. So the solutions, we changed our model a little bit. We focused on events and large events. We were doing previously a lot of sort of medium-sized, small events, but we wanted to do fewer but larger. This just meant that it was less scattershot, it could focus more, and it was also a bit more financially sustainable. Go more commercial. Some people might call this selling out, but in China, there's not much if any, arts funding available for organizations like ours, and there's not a culture of philanthropy where you might have a membership base as you would in arts organizations in other countries. So if you want to be financially sustainable and eat, then you have to kind of partner with brands or real estate companies or malls or anyone really who stand to benefit from arts and cultural events for their clients, for their customers. And to take it all a bit slower. We really hit the ground running, and it was very stressful. And I think we just decided, hey, it's okay if we don't become an overnight success. We don't have to be an overnight success. We can take it slow, make sure things are done right, and hopefully things will work out in the end. So our plan for 2020 was an artist residency. We managed to get sponsorship from Nike. They were going to sponsor us a workshop and studio, a very large one in the center of Shanghai, for an artist residency for 12 artists a year. And we're going to focus on 4 signature events: art versus fashion, artists on artists, Shanghai behind the scenes, Elevate Showcase. I won't go into those details today. But then, hello, I'm COVID-19. I like to ruin things. So all our plans were set. It was looking rosy. It was looking good. But then, of course, COVID happened and things got pretty shitty. We found our way back onto our feet, sort of, in 2020. So we did manage to launch Artists on Artists along with Expat Services. This is where 4 artists come and speak about their favorite artists. And these are artists from different fields. So here we've got a painter, a writer, a singer, and a photographer. I managed to host an exhibition in August of 2020 with a cartoonist called Will Denham, which was a lot of fun. It was at the time, a lot of the stuff that arts organizations were doing was really dwelling on the pandemic and the quarantine and stuff like this. And I wanted to sort of provide an alternative to that. So this was very lighthearted. It was very humorous. Art versus Fashion, there's a competitive performance event where on one side you have an artist and their team, and on the other side you have a fashion designer and their team, and they have 2 hours to do the best they can, and then the audience votes. 2021, we added a new signature event called Land of Chill, Chengshi Jieyao. I won't, again, go into too much details, but there's 3 areas, big areas. This is usually over a space about 2,000, 3,000 square meters. There's a creative market, a dark zone, and a chill activities zone. This is some photos of the creative market where you can sort of buy prints or original works from local artists. You can paint yourself for free. There's some workshops to try out for free, like making pottery, making candles. And you can see local sustainable vendors. The dark zone, sorry about the cropping on these images. The dark zone is like an entire floor or a huge auditorium, which is completely blacked out and then has lots of black drapes, sort of maze effect. And there's like video projectors, these lovely comfy seats that you can lie down on and fall asleep. We actually encourage people to nap. When you go through the maze, you find a secret UV tea room. So all of the cups and stuff glow in the UV, and you can go there and make tea for strangers. And then the activity zone, where we have yoga, meditation, storytelling, and a couple of DJs throughout the day and night playing very relaxed music. 21 and 22, more private clients. So like I said, going a bit more commercial, and this has been quite good. Doing the smaller things is very nice, but it's not very financially sustainable. So it's been very nice to be able to work with some real estate companies and some shopping malls, because they currently face the challenge of e-commerce taking away a great deal of their market share. So having people like us who can create interesting experiences for their customers or their clients is very valuable to them. I have a couple pictures. I can't really show that many because a lot of it's a bit confidential. But like, for instance, this is one more where we set up a stage and had a different performer every lunchtime, every day, singers, musicians, for about 6 weeks. There's another one we had a Halloween parade this was also for a shopping mall, so people could come along and take photos with these guys. And And then 2022, COVID again. Whoa, who'd have thunk it, huh? And now it's kind of, we're just in a wait and see moment. It's been very tough, and it's very annoying, to put it lightly, to build something up, then have it all taken away by COVID, only to build it up again and then potentially have it all taken away again. But, life. What of the future? Who knows? There are some positive signs. Yeah, not all of my clients have gone. Finally, what have I learned? For me, I think it's a good idea to focus on doing a small number of things and doing them very well. It's like if you go to a restaurant where there's 1,000 things on the menu, you know that most of those dishes are not going to be great, right? But if you go to a restaurant and there's 6 dishes on the menu, the chances are those dishes are going to be very well made, and that restaurant's going to be quite successful. Well, it's the same thing with this. Originally, we were just trying to do too much. Don't ignore red flags. Not everyone's intentions are good. I was kind of a bit naive going into this, thinking that everyone in the art world was like a really nice person who's collaborative and creative and cool, but it's not true. There's some people who have very strange intentions, let's say. Find a way to enjoy the process, as the result isn't guaranteed. Like, I would say probably at least 3 out of 5 of the projects that I try to start don't work. So if I can't enjoy the process of trying to make that project work, then I can't get through this. So you've got to find a way to enjoy doing it, and smell the roses when they bloom. So, sorry, I was just read this comment that was sent. That's very nice, Em. Yeah, the roses don't bloom that often, right? So those small victories that you do have, it's like it's good to step back and remind yourself, hey, this is really great, and have a margarita and relax for a moment, because it's going to be tempting to go on to the next thing and say, right, okay, well, we did that, let's do the next thing, and it's like, well, that's never going to end. So take a minute. If something goes well, enjoy it, and that's me. So if you are interested in Elevate or would like to chat, you can scan up here for our official account on WeChat, or scan down here for my personal WeChat. And thank you very much for listening.
Brilliant.
I'm sure that was longer than 10 minutes, and I apologize.
It's okay. It's brilliant. I have to say that I've been in UK for 8 years in Cambridge, and I was missing a lot the straightforwardness and the humor and the way of British people to express how they feel about their own situation, about their own business. I really missed it, and I enjoyed so much your introduction. Thank you so much for that. That was great. And
My pleasure.
Let's go for Paul Desio. I'm looking forward to see your introduction.
Okay, thank you. It was a great presentation, Charlie. It was super interesting. I'm taking back from this. Let me try and see. Hey, there we go. I learned for just now from Charlie how to do myself inside.
You guys have to teach me to do that. That's amazing.
Okay, so first of all, my name is Paul Desio. I am one of the founders of Urban Art United. Desio is my artist name, but it's the name that I go by. So I'm French. I was born in Paris, but I grew up in Taiwan and Hong Kong. At 14, I moved back to France, where I discovered graffiti and street art and felt deeply passionate about it. So I really I love the energy and the feeling of painting something that's larger than life, like really painting very large murals. So being able to walk inside my painting and everything really suddenly captivating me. And from then on, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And this was the start of my art career. I studied and graduated as a designer, and in 2006, I moved back to China, working as a creative director in a retail design company. On the side, I kept working as an artist, applying my art for many brands and agencies, as well as meeting artists throughout China, seeing the whole entire street art scene start from the very beginnings. Everyone was just discovering internet, and suddenly they discovered street art and started painting more. And by painting more, they started to the whole entire culture blossomed. So in 2017, I decided to establish an agency called Urban Art United, along with my partner Sunyan, and combining my experience and resources as an artist with her extensive experience in the Chinese public arts industry. So together we formed this platform for art lovers and artists to meet and share, connect for projects in China. So at Urban Art United, we specialize in all forms of urban art, which we see not just as street art, but as all forms of art in an urban space. So be it murals, be it installations, both permanent and temporary, kinetic sculptures, large new media, video, all these forms of art that are in a public space and where people experience it and live through it. So we really decided to focus on this and to try and spread that around to as many people as possible and getting the right artists connected for the right projects. So we try to find basically this, and this is a little summary of our company, what we do. And so what we do, we revolve around three main activities. We have the art intervention. So we use art as a means of transforming an urban space. So like I mentioned, all forms of urban art that we try to include. Now, for this involves working with, in collaboration with real estate developers, brands, government agencies, communities, to understand their needs and vision in order to articulate a strategy that really fits and brings meaning and brings meaning to the art and transformation that it's applied. So the art curation. So this involves selecting, organizing, and presenting artists and artwork for brands and projects. So doing the whole shortlisting, finding all the artists, trying to seek out the ones that are interesting, that have their own voice and have a voice that could really fit what the project is. Now, briefing and managing the artists once they're selected, checking the process, organizing their traveling, managing everything. All this is all the extra work, and it shows it's not, as an art agency, you're not just like, it's not just about, well, there's an art, great, there's an artist, great, let's put it together and it's a success. You really have to follow everything up. So it's a really, really big process. This is something which I've learned over the years, and which was kind of a challenge, but which is really interesting. Getting everything and getting everyone to successfully work together and getting all the projects to be a success in the end for them to be done. And finally, the IP creation. So this involves working with brands and artists to create very unique IPs and crossover collaborations between the artist and the brands. So we try to manage like all aspects and being able to provide assistance every step of the way, trying to from the conception all the way to really like the partnership and how that can many possibilities. Now, for every project, we draw our inspiration from our vast resource of artists that come from all cultural backgrounds, both local and international, and they have like unique and original voices recognized in their fields. We have worked with painters, illustrators, sculptors, installation artists, there's light artists, performance artists, and so on. And so we pride ourselves on every day trying to connect with artists from all over the world, guided by our passion and love for art. Now, as well as just a natural curiosity as to what's happening and looking for something new, interesting artists. And with the COVID times, what was actually, when we started our company, we were really focusing a lot on getting international artists involved in projects in China. And this was with all my connections with artists from my past, from France and from from me working as a street artist and having projects around the world where I had met a lot of different artists. But now with the COVID making traveling a lot more difficult, we've refocused on China and trying to find all the like being active on all social medias, to try all the local social medias, to try and find many different artists and really expanding our artist resource in all the different kind of fields. Now, over the years, we've worked with a lot of brands. We've did a lot of different types of projects. Like I said, we were created in 2017, so it's been 5 years where we were officially created. Every year we have a lot of projects. However, I decided to focus just on these 3 projects that will kind of maybe give you an idea of globally what we do, and 3 cases that I think quite match. So first is a case of the 1,000 Trees mixed-use development designed by Thomas Hezrowick Studio. So this is the Tianan building on Moganshan Road. It's referred to the Shanghai Hanging Art Gardens of Babylon. And so they have this huge mural facade, basically composed of many artworks. And so as an art consultant firm, we were hired for this project. We were asked to curate and manage the creation of multiple murals on the facade and on the inside lift. So totally, there's more than 4,000 square meters of hand-painted permanent artworks, really designed by each artist. So we had to find artists. We got 17 artists from around the world, really we have from the US, from Europe, all over Europe, like Spain, France, Germany. We have all the way to Australia, Japan, Brazil, really getting famous street artists to come to China and to paint these murals, these one-of-a-kind, these folk murals. It was a very challenging and very interesting project, which to date, this is the largest outdoor art installation in China. And it has the world record for largest indoor mural painted by a single artist in the elevator shafts. Now here you see more pictures from the outside and how these works are composed. This was one of the challenges of getting all these artists to each be able to express their voice, but yet to work in harmony, and getting everyone to work in schedule. And so here you can see how everything fit together. Also here these are like details. On the left you have Suiko, the Japanese artist who did that big circular artwork, which is kind of a planetary being. And on the right, you have Vils, an artist from Portugal, really famous for his unique carving style, which he unfortunately wasn't able to do carving, but he still applied his aesthetic. And of course, you have myself right above, like a brushed butterfly flying above and flying up in the air. Now, a second case, this is from 2021. And the Kohler Global Corporation approached us with a problem. Here, they have a big 900 square meter showroom in the center of Shanghai that was garnering not a lot of foot traffic. And they asked if there was a way of that we could help and collaborate, bringing maybe art into it to kind of like increase people's attention and maybe bring some people to come in. And so we offered to create this happening in the form of a 2-month art show. So that would help the brand connect to an audience over an issue that was important for them as well as everyone else, which is the importance of recycling and the impacts of sustainability on the environment and on manufacturing. And so we curated 17 art installations around this theme. We brought together 10 artists who were, of course, with COVID, they were all sourced locally, which apart from this artist that you can see who did the letter installation at the entrance, who we found who are sculpture artists from Canada, who unfortunately weren't able to make it, and so we had to communicate with them to get that work created in Shanghai as per their specs, and so find a factory, build, and everything. And this was a very interesting project, which had quite a lot of success. And the works integrated various forms of artistic expressions, such as space paintings, large-scale installations, interactive light shows, You can see the AR by David Costa. He's an artist, Irish artist who's in Shanghai, who did this this digital AR interactive installation. You have Hali Jean from a local artist from Shanghai who worked with a 3D pen. Really have a lot of very interesting works, and all these are from artists that really express themselves, express their art, but yet apply it in a commercial area, but not commercially. I think, like Charlie explained, there's this fine line in China that we have to really balance in order to maintain our integrity, and yet, of course, we have to be commercial because, or else, if we're not commercial, there's not that much funding, there's not much difficulties. But I think it's really reaching that fine line is what's very important. Here's more. So the show was a resounding success. We tripled the usual traffic that came, and this project was such a success that actually we was prolonged for a whole month, and it's now becoming a reoccurring. We're going to do this every single year here in this color art space. So it's very exciting, and it's really getting like all these artists together. Now, next, last project I'd like to introduce is the Color for Smile project. Now, this project was a result of the 2020 COVID. And so when everything was on lockdown, everything closed up, and we were totally on pause, we decided to reach out to the artists that we knew around the world. This was even when it was just China that was under lockdown. It hadn't spread out yet. But even at that time, people were starting to become aware, and little by little, they started seeing what was happening, and many artists decided to participate. And so this project was all about creating bespoke artwork on face masks and having them kind of bring color back to people's faces. The reality of having to wear face masks was really just sinking in, and this idea of bringing art with it was really interesting for us. This was first an online project, but it garnered quite a lot of attention and became a little viral. We altogether reached up to 50 artists, 50, 60 artists who were interested and who just started joining. And because of this, Shanghai City Planning Committee, they were aware of this project, and they asked us to bring this project from the offline to the online onto Nanjing Road. Once Nanjing Road was going to open, this was going to be this event that they would like to put in this most historical pedestrian street. And so it was very interesting at the same time with like COVID actually created this project for us. And it's really like local people, like artists getting together. Now this project gained a lot of media attention and had great reviews, had a lot of traffic with even with the COVID situation that was really limiting. But as you can see how the masks were displayed, so people could take a picture as if they were wearing the masks. You had also these big AR screens where people could participate, and a mask would be applied onto their face in this photo booth, and then projected on a big screen so everyone would see. This really was this idea of reborning the city, reborning the area, and getting everyone back to life. And this show has since moved on to other locations. It was in the Macau International Art Fair, and yeah, we hope to get it more places. I'll just quickly, we had like media presence, brand experience, and thank you very much. This is
wow, that's incredible. That was incredible. Thank you so much for Paul for the introduction. That was amazing. I mean, I'm actually shocked about how even in the presence of the COVID pandemic and during this lockdown that we've suffered already twice, even then you still took the opportunity to thrive. That's amazing. And we will go back to talk about that in a minute, because that was actually very interesting, I believe, for most entrepreneurs or people who want to become an entrepreneur. So coming to the next part, before we enter the panel of discussion, I would like to invite our partner, Any Helper. So now Any Helper, they are not just anyone. They are actually well known by all of us, and especially by many of the entrepreneurs who were doing webinars with us, because of some of them, they actually started their businesses and they got the visas and other stuff, thanks to the Any Helper's invaluable assistance. And today they're going to actually share that we have the pleasure that they're going to share some of the insights about the current market situation and a brief breakdown of certain policies behind the market situation. So please, Lucy, go ahead and introduce a little bit about the policies and about the changes in the market. Thank you.
Hi, am I here?
Yes, we
Yes,
can hear you.
okay. Yeah, before sharing the screen, I'm so happy to know that the 1,000 trees and a lot of paintings was made by Paul's studio.
Amazing.
because it's just on my way home. So every day I just walk there and see the paintings
Oh,
and
wow.
walk along the Suzhou River and then go back home. So really relaxed for me. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen and try to play it. Sorry, it's a little bit slower than for my laptop.
Yeah.
Yes, is that okay for me?
We can see this. Yeah, we can see it. So it's not a problem. Excellent.
Yeah, it's okay now?
Yes.
Okay, so actually today, because our guests, they are all related to artists, so we will have some sharing about the measures related to culture and the tourism industry in Shanghai, because we know that for the artists, you always have the exhibitions and you always have the offline parties or have a lot of offline activities need to gathering people, but because of the COVID situation, it's not allowed. So we will have some policies and is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Come out.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit. Yeah, you can still see it now.
I believe so, yes.
Yes, okay. So actually, we are cooperating with this program, and we will invite entrepreneurs for the interview project. So this is related to the entrepreneurs in culture and the tourism field, and especially for the what you gonna do and what you will have from the policy after the lockdown, after 2 months is lockdown, and what the government of the policy will to help you to recover. So for the first one is like, we all know that the government has a lot of policy to help the company recover. And, but we need to make sure that the valid period of the policy is from June 1st, 2022 to December 31st. And this is about half a year period for the policy. And if the measures specific the implementation period, there are provisions shall be prevail. So this is another thing to say if the policy have some changes. And there are 21 measures policy on the entrepreneurs assistance issued by the Shanghai government on March 28, and you can all find it on the platform, such as Shanghai Fabu, and for the English version, you can find our Any Shanghai and also the Shine, which is Shanghai Daily, the official platform, and it continues to be effective. So a lot of policies according to the recovered companies has already released. And if the state has relevant provisions, those provisions shall prove. So not only about Shanghai, but other cities, they are also suffering by the COVID-19. And if there is any other policies, we will continue to focus on it. But for the Shanghai policy now, it's only a half-year policy from June 1st to December, which should be recognized by other entrepreneurs if you want to follow the policy and get some benefits. And next one, will according to the culture and the tourism industry, such as Charley's said, because of the COVID-19, a lot of challenges came here. We cannot hold any activities, we cannot have exhibitions, even the galleries are just open for some while and then close for a long time. So the culture and the tourism industry is one of the industries severely hit by COVID-19, which is recognized by the government. So the small sized and macro companies and individual owned businesses that have difficulties in production and operations shall implement the policy of delaying the payment of social insurance, which is more the individual part. It means if you pay the individuals for yourself and for your employees, it can have a delay. And for the taxpayers, which is for the company part, the taxpayers who file monthly and quarterly tax returns, the time limited in April, May, and June will be extended to June 30, which means you have at least 1 month. No, sorry, from now it's 2 weeks to fill and paying the tax. And for the companies, for company income taxpayers, the tax declaration period for the final settlement and payment in 2021, which means the last year payment will be also extended to the end of this year. So please make sure that with your financial person, you already fill and checked all the tax person in these 2 weeks. And affected by the pandemic situation, if your company have difficulties in filing and paying tax within the time limited, which means the end of this year, and you may apply to the tax authorities for extension. The maximum time limited for the extension is 3 months, which means if you really had some difficulties, the lastest time for you to pay the tax of last year will be the September 30. And the next one is according to when we return to the office and return to work. So all the government and the policies requires that you need to do the pandemic prevention and disinfections. So the government policy said they will expand the scope of allowance for company pandemic prevention and disinfections. So in 2022, if you back to work and you back to the office and you put some money into the prevention and disinfections, you can ask your district authorities, and because they are encouraged to provide guided and fixed allowance for all the companies. But which is up to the actual operations skills what you have. Like if you are the small sized companies, maybe you can apply for the small allowance. And if you are really big companies such as UAU, you have a lot of employees, and you can talk with your district for more allowance about that. And the next one is like how we back to normal, how we encourage the person to, how we encourage people to back to the normal, back to the business. And the policy said we are encouraging to take festival activities as an opportunity to promote business. So such as support culture and tourism companies to issue culture and tourism consumptions vouchers. So you will have coupons for your, you can have coupons and you can have a lot of activities. And also, if you want to promote your activities or you want to promote your exhibitions, you are encouraged to carry out free promotion on some official media platforms such as Leyou Shanghai, which is officially run by the Shanghai municipal government related to the Culture and the Tourism Bureau. And appropriate financial support should be given to the companies that have marketing leading innovation formats, models, and creative activities. And if all the creative activities or models have made outstanding contributions to the growth of market, you can also apply for financial support, but which is not that much, you know. And the last one is about the personal issue, because from the June 1st, and we got the information and a lot of expats who coming to us to ask. Actually, with the implementation of reception of the work and production, not only the Shanghainese ended the lockdown, but also Chinese foreign policy has become increasingly relaxed. So from now on, and there is no need to apply for a PU letter for people who come to work in China or visit foreign family members. Especially we know that for entrepreneurs, they just settle down your business here, and maybe for 2 or 3 years, you haven't meet your family members. But now, the PU letter is not needed anymore if you have a work permit here, but can directly apply for visa from Chinese overseas embassy with the work permit notice, and if it's your family members, just with the family relationship certificates. But need to make sure that if you want to have a short business cooperation with the workers overseas, the business type still need a PU letter. So this is for the personal issues about the visa policy. And this is all the policies related to the culture and tourism industries. So if you want to get more further information, you can have some platforms, and for any job we will focus on the business field, and for the visa policy is published on the Visa of China, and for any Shanghai we have daily Shanghai news. Also, if you want to promote some activities of your companies, we are also willing to share your activities. And if you want to ask more detailed issues, you can use our volunteer program. We have 12 hours, so the volunteer can help you to figure out something. And also the last but not least, because we are all entrepreneurs and we want more cooperation, and we want to have our business back to normal and growth step by step. So please remember to join our Meet Entrepreneurs WeChat group, and feel free to contact us if you have any problems. So David and I and the SGTU, we are here and willing to help anytime. Okay, David, I will end my screen share.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lucy. Again, if anyone would like to join the entrepreneurs group, or anyone interested in entrepreneurship, please just join the WeChat group. It's growing by the day, and it's fantastic to keep updated with the policies, and any helper is there to assist anybody on so many matters that are so important for entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for that. And now we have got to the part that we were all waiting for, which is the panel of discussion. And we're going to start kicking things off with understanding what makes the art market unique here in Shanghai. So the first question is, what makes Shanghai different from other markets in art industry? So what do you think about that, Paul? Can you start sharing your thoughts about what makes the art market here in Shanghai unique?
So unique. Well, for far too long, I think the market was dominated by advertising agencies with a strong penchant for using marketing and designers instead of artists to lead certain projects. I think Shanghai, if you're comparing, like, for example, Shanghai with other cities in China, Shanghai has always been very focused on the business aspect of art, a lot more than the cultural part which you see more around Beijing. I just also sometimes see in Shanghai the result of having big artist names being prioritized over the actual artworks and what they really are done. So sometimes it's neglecting a little bit the local artist community, which is for some reason is often overlooked. And sometimes you really have a lot of local artists who are very interesting, who have great works, and who are doing a lot of great things, but who don't have this international renown and so it's quite hard for many of them to get recognition for their work and get the recognition they deserve. And so I think this is what's very difficult for the Shanghai market for artists who want to get known and get like projects, get jobs, and become a little successful.
Oh, I see. Interesting thoughts. And what about you, Charlie? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think that's spot on. Um, there is like a significant lack in like a bridge between being a new artist and being an established artist. It's kind of a lot of Chinese artists will begrudge the fact that in order to be taken seriously here, they have to first go and study abroad and make a name for themselves abroad and then come back. You know, once they've got X number of Instagram followers, then and they've been to you know CFA or something like that, then they can come back and then maybe they'll pick up some exhibitions. So that is difficult. Having said that, there are some positives as well. There's a lot of money in it at the moment. If you can make that leap into the establishment, then there's new galleries popping up all the time. There's representation across the entire country. There's collectors who are now have slightly more sophisticated tastes than they might have had 20 years ago. And they're able to take on more experimental works. And borrowing something that a friend of mine spoke about a little while ago, an artist called David Rodriguez. He's a classically trained painter, and he studied in Sorbonne in Paris. But he said that what he likes about here rather than there is that in places like Paris, New York, and London, art is very codified. It's a very like, yes, there is a bridge between a new like being a new artist and becoming an established artist, but especially in things like classical painting and classical technique, it's a very codified world in which certain expectations have existed for hundreds of years and you're expected to fit in within that. Whereas here there is the opportunity to create something new because the market is something new and you don't necessarily have to follow this set path.
Oh, so would you guys say that Shanghai, it is a very different market in the art industry compared to other cities like tier 2, tier 3 cities? Are there more opportunities for artists to build their businesses here in terms of the art industry?
I agree with Charlie with the mention about how the tastes have become more and more sophisticated, and where a couple of years ago, as an artist, it was really difficult for artists who were kind of not following really like a traditional trend, or even if they were if they were contemporary artists, they would have to be recognized artists elsewhere and doing a style that's already recognized elsewhere before it could be appreciated here. This is evolving. China is becoming very open to artists, and have over the past, I think, 5 years, I'm guessing like 5 to 6 years, there's really been a shift into more interesting artists, where it's only been not just the really high names, and people have been looking more for artists who are interesting and who can do something. So that's the general shift. And then Shanghai has this advantage of that's where the money is, and so the industry part of the art industry is very important in Shanghai.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean
okay.
that's the same in any country, right? I mean, like the center of art in France is in Paris, not in Lyon or Nice. You know, the center in the UK is London. It's the metropolitan centers where you're gonna have, if you're going to have success in art, it's usually going to be there.
Okay, interesting. It's interesting that you say the metropolitan centers, because obviously Shanghai would not be pointed as the center of China. But then again, you guys both mentioned that Shanghai is perhaps it is, right? Yeah, I understand. I see. I'm beginning to understand that part. So now, of course, being an entrepreneur means you will go sometimes through hardship, like I've seen on both intros, and I'm sure some people in the audience would benefit from my next question. So COVID has proven a big challenge for old and for new businesses, right? New business owners. in Shanghai. So to those in the art industry, what do you suggest to do in order to keep your community and your audience engaged on your business during the lockdown, and how to minimize the damage? Let's start with you, Paul. What do you think?
Okay. Well, I think that, well, like every industry, it's been hard. Of course, it's been like every single industry has had its setbacks. The art industry is very linked to people meeting and people going to events, so it has been a very big setback. However, from my experience, my advice which would be to do which is taking the time to really focus on something that you are more passion projects, and projects that are more keen on trying to and getting engaging, reaching out to people, trying to meet, because actually during this time it was very good for meeting. Everyone was stuck, everyone had nothing to do in a way, and was kind of like worrisome, but at the same time everyone was available and everyone was very open to talking, to reaching out. This kind of like time has this effect on people, and so I think right now the lockdown, I mean, it's what it is, but reaching out and either creating communities, being a part of many communities. There's been many like for our art industry, there's been like many like daily drawings project communities, daily activities, reaching out. Just like it's a moment in time where you can also more focus. For example, I'm also, even outside of my business as an artist, I was able to take the time to do things that I had to be on the back burner for such a long time, because when you're an entrepreneur, you have so many things that you have to work about, manage, and the actual art part really takes only like half of your time. And so I do kind of to focus a lot on that. So you know, there's always good parts. It's, of course it's hard, but it's a challenge. But I think it's really like I don't know, like interacting with people outside of your social circle, and like building a community and seeing what's up.
Well, certainly online, being able to be so easily present online, it certainly helps. For at least for me, I found myself even busier during the lockdown than before the lockdown, because before the lockdown, everything was like, okay, let's meet tomorrow for dinner and talk. And now it's like, I want to talk about this in 5 minutes. Let's do a video conference. So things there's definitely a lot of good things coming from the lockdown. It's not everything so dark, right? What about you, Charlie? What do you think?
I think it really depends. Like, so the question is how to keep your audiences and your communities engaged in an arts organization during the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
I think it very much depends on what kind of organization you have. If you have, for instance, if your organization is, can you still hear me? Sorry, my microphone went off.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
If your organization is focused on digital art, for instance, then I think you've got a really good opportunity to explore things, you know, like AR, VR, the metaverse, and provide some really interesting content, because everyone's looking at their phones all the time anyway. If you have more of an offline and more sort of like an arts organization that requires being able to see things physically, being able to feel things, being able to meet people, then it can be a little bit more difficult.
Can be a challenge.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily a challenge that needs to be met. Like a lot of people said that I should start moving a lot of my events online, and I just thought, well, I don't really want to. I don't think it's going to be that interesting. I don't think the quality is going to be high enough, just because of the nature of what they are. Like there's an old adage in the arts that you're only as good as the last thing you did, because whenever people think about you as an organization or as a person, your previous project is the one they're going to be thinking about. So I don't want to put something out there that's not up to my standards. So I did do a couple of live streams during the lockdown, but I didn't. It wasn't for me. I feel like I engaged with them like via email, via my WeChat channels, stuff like this. But I feel like it's better just to, for me, in my opinion, for me, it's better just to wait it out and produce something really
Okay.
good once it's over.
Well, this thankfully it seems to be things seems to happen faster here in Shanghai. Shanghai, I found that Shanghai people are, even the foreigners in Shanghai, they're very impatient in terms of the COVID. They're like, as soon as there is 1-2 months that they're locked down, there's like, oh my God, I want to go back home. While in Spain, yeah, in Spain, I was like, for me, it wasn't a big deal because I thought, shit, I spent 9 months locked in Spain. So I know what it's like 9 months not being able to actually go anywhere apart from shopping, which was the only thing available for me to do that perhaps during the first 2 months here was not really available, right? But in Spain, that was the only thing you could do. So if I take this into consideration, like 9 months or 3 months of being locked down, but then like the government is really doing what they said they would do. It's like they slowly opening, slowly everything going back to normal. Well, I'd rather prefer to do that, right? So that's a really good situation that's happening right now, going back to normal. Shanghai is clearly recovering its fast pace. And we all started to get our gemas in 1 hour, not in days. And you both must be really excited. And I bet the lockdown experience has also made you rethink your business model and opportunities, right? And think about the opportunities ahead, other opportunities ahead, perhaps before the lockdown you didn't think about. And I'm wondering, what are your plans for a strong comeback? What is your plans, Charley?
For me, I'm just in wait and see moment. I don't have this summer I would love to organize a lot of events, but I don't want to I don't want to build my expectations just to have them shat on. So
I understand.
I'm just chilling and seeing how things go. And once things start opening up, then I'll start making plans. But for now, it's all about just, controlling
improvisation,
expectations.
Riding the wave.
Okay,
Yeah.
and adaptation, right? Adaptation and improvisation. What about you, Paul? Are you planning yourself? What are your plans for?
For us, it's kind of been the same. I think it's really we haven't rethought our business model, but it's just more thinking of it. I think it's kind of like what Charley mentioned, but like when he first did the 2020, it's only like, okay, well, we were at the very beginning, we were very focused on, okay, we're going to bring international artists over. Now we're like, okay, well, that's not going to be a smart thing to focus on. Now it should be more focusing on trying to gain more local audience, and so local artists, and trying to see where the art is in another way. So I think it's more the whole COVID situation in general, not talking about just these last 2 months, but just in general, has made us kind of rethink and quite build more local communities. I think also another thing that was mentioned is like China cannot connect to Instagram, yet the Instagram followers are what's very important for companies and when choosing an artist, which makes absolutely no sense. But until then, we were really focused on like finding artists and like looking at them through Instagram. Now, Instagram really for us, we're not really that much paying attention. We're looking at more local apps and things which are
Local
as interesting, which local channels, yes, like Douwu, Xiaohongshu, all these where you can see actually like artists, there are young artists, there are artists who really express themselves. I'm discovering like all these artists from all over China, where before it was very difficult for me to connect with them because I wasn't going through that. And now like I discovered these apps, and I think I don't know if I would say it's the COVID has made me rethink, but it's just suddenly I'm looking at different channels and finding new artists and looking at new opportunities.
Well, I think that would be the right decision based on the fact that obviously the less foreign presence here makes you become more involved in with the locals, right? So you have to get your let's say you have to get your business to be more localized here, and
Yeah. By
therefore
local,
using yeah.
local, I don't mean just local as in just Chinese artist or others.
Okay.
Local is really like locally residing artists. There's a lot of
Oh,
artists
okay.
who are from all over and who are residing in China, who are very interesting and who have like a very like a great voice. And I think it's like for them to go on also on all these other platforms and enables us to meet and to get. It's really like it's all about. It's really suddenly like starting to find local communities, as in a local area, because now traveling is becoming difficult and all that. So we're suddenly like, okay, well, if we have a project that's going to be in this area, we should think about these artists. In this area, we should think about these artists. And according to projects, we kind of like redevelop and rethink our approach to artists this way.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so for some expats, this was the time to leave because of the COVID, and for others like yourself, they see this challenge as a great opportunity to start new projects, to start new stuff, and perhaps even consider that now there is less competition, I guess. So my question is, how do you envision your long-term goals here in Shanghai? How do you envision them?
Charley first.
Yes, please, Charley.
It's really hard to envision next week right now. Like let's just be real for a moment. The country has changed like significantly. Not just because just during these 2 months, but the consequences of this and the way that we now know the decisions are made, and how decisions are going to be made for the coming future. There is a fundamental unpredictability, and so we can try and be as proactive as we can. And I think in that case, it means just being ready with a tool set to react to whatever's going to happen, because honestly, we don't know what it is yet. Long-term vision. If I could
Doesn't
stick
work.
to the vision that I had at the beginning of this year, that would be awesome. But the chances of that happening, not so high. I'm not pessimistic by any means. I'm really not. I just think that at the moment it's a time to be reactive rather than proactive, and to take opportunities as they come week by week, because what can you plan for here right now, you know?
I completely agree with you. Well, not 100%. I wouldn't say reactive. I would say that you have to be proactive in terms of how you react. But I would not say being reactive all the time. But I definitely share with you that adaptability is the key. I would say that being
Having a plan B.
adaptable. Yes, having plan B and C and like Z, I would say. And what about you, Paul? What do you think about how do you envision your long-term goals in here, if you can envision them?
Actually, it's I think it's funny with Charley. We actually met up 3 months ago, right before this whole COVID situation, where we were talking about how this year was planning. We had I mean I've known Charley for quite a while, and I remember we had talked about it on a coffee, and yeah, it's it'd be great if things turn out like they're supposed to turn out. Right now, it's hard to say like a long-term plan. A plan is we're here. It's working. Let's just make sure it stays this way and that Shanghai reopens, and that's good. As long as we keep doing what we like doing, I'm totally fine. This is just something where there's setbacks kind of all over the world. Fortunately, Shanghai, yeah, I mean, more than 50% of the foreigners have left, but hey, they might come back, and if they don't, then it's a new reality, and that's it.
I mean, I've been 18 years in China, and I have seen bad times happen before. No, I'm not. I mean, not like this, but obviously they were different. But I believe that once everything reopens again, then Shanghai is gonna get full of foreigners again. So it's just a matter of time, really. So perhaps could be an opportunity for the ones who live here to think about, to rethink about their business model and to rethink about how to use this less competition situation that we have now, because we have, I mean, half of the expats they've gone, really. So that could be a good thing and a bad, could be a bad thing,
Yeah.
right? But it's also could be a good
Because
thing.
you're mentioning less, less competition. Actually, there's also the other side to it, is
Yes.
the competition has become more fierce, because
True.
at the beginning it was kind of many companies were very focused on, like, the very high brands and the high thing, and smaller projects were like, oh, these projects are under their budget, so they really couldn't care. Now with COVID, it's suddenly like every project is important for every company, and so you're suddenly facing this competition, which is also like quite hard. Not generally because we're not being pulled towards pulled up, but it's more suddenly, okay, well, companies are starting to be like, okay, I have to focus on my budget also. So we want a good artist, we want a good product. At the same time, we want it to be low on the cost, and there's quite a lot of things that suddenly come into play that before, what I believe before, it was really great for China, like I'd say like 4 years ago, 3 4 years ago, where suddenly it was really this kind of everything is possible. Let's just try and get like get this done, and getting like so many things happening. Now people are getting a lot more aware, and so it's, yes, many companies have left, but not necessarily less competition. It's just different.
I agree with you. I mean, it's a point that I have to consider. It's a very important point, right? Because I believe on any industry now, they are more aware that next week they could be just like things could go wrong, right? So for everyone now, any project is important. Any money that you can just revenue that you can just put into the company is important. So I think you're right that in terms of competitors, less but more aggressive. That's very true. And so this webinar is all about share your experience, right, with future entrepreneurs, which leads me to my very next question, which is what would your advice be to someone who's starting out in the art industry? For example, what ways of earning revenue should they start to focus in here in Shanghai? What do you think? Charlie, what are your thoughts?
I think that they need to look around and see what's out there. It kind of, I don't want to be too vague here, but like they need to look around and see what else is out there. And then they need to really think about their idea and what they're offering and how unique it is. Art is a peculiar thing because it's an intangible good, right? It's not like selling a kettle or a toaster or a speaker or something that has a particular use. What you're offering is something that doesn't have an obvious valuation to it, but rather you're proposing that this thing has some form of meaning or might have meaning for somebody. And so I think my advice would be to really consider that first. You've got to have good art. You have to have a solid idea behind it. You have to have, and if you're not an artist, for instance, myself, then you need to really have a vision about how you're going to harness the power of art and bring different artists into a particular vision, into a particular narrative. Because it's that gets people interested in the arts. It's not necessarily what you can do for people. It's not the utilitarian nature of art, but rather it's this is something that's meaningful. This is something we haven't seen before. This is something that engages us somehow. It has to start from there. Everything else can follow. The money can follow. You know, you can go to clients and say, well, I'll get you this, that, or the other. It will look pink and da 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 da. But you've got to start with the art, and then everything else comes. That would be my advice. I think I see a lot of people, the arts organizations I've seen over the years that have failed are the ones that don't pay enough attention to that. They're the ones that are all marketing. They follow like traditional business practices where they identify consumers, have their target audience, then market to them. But then when people actually go to experience whatever it is they're selling, they come away feeling empty. And over time, that leads to diminishing returns. The ones that I've seen succeed are the ones that really, really have that sort of artistic and sometimes philosophical backbone.
Wow, that's I would say that your advice would apply to almost any industry, not just for art, because it really basically means that you require, as an entrepreneur in Shanghai, you do have to really have passion for what you are sharing, for what you are selling, right? You do need that passion. If you don't show everyone this passion and why is it so unique and why is it so important why you sell, then like you said, people will just come out empty from these marketing results. You might get a lot of clients interested in the product or service, but at the end, people just feel empty and not engaged, right? That's really interesting. What about you, Paul? What do you think? So yeah, the question is, what would your advice be to
Sorry,
someone
I'm having a little bit of trouble. I think I was a little bit out. 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, that's good.
So can you? Yeah. So what
Yeah,
would you?
I'm sorry, I got a bit cut out, but I followed what Charlie said, and I do definitely agree. I think it's all about. You said good art. I say also like perseverance. It's like if you believe in what you want, what you're doing, just go for it and just keep going for it. Get other people's advice. Get other people's opinion. Try to reach out to as many people and as many like learning. Right now, there's so many like learning communities where you can learn all the different aspects of what you're doing. To try and always push yourself, but trust yourself in the end. So it's like it's kind of, if you want to really do something, you have to go ahead and do it. You'll fail, you'll struggle, you'll go through I don't know how many like problems. If you just stick to what you're saying without listening to people, then you're just gonna get lost and people are gonna forget you. If you listen too much to everyone and just try to adapt yourself to fit in and to fit in on what's trendy, what's popular, what can work, you're gonna get lost. You're gonna fail. It's gonna be the same thing. You'll be up one day and gone the next. It's really just like focus. Try something. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Change it a little bit. Try again. If it works, if it doesn't work, try to reanalyze it and just persevere. If you're starting, it's all about, I think, trying to reach out to people around, trying to connect, trying to meet new people, to try and get their experience, get their take on what worked for them. But at the same time, keep in mind what worked for them doesn't necessarily work for you. So just what worked for them, it worked for them because of this. It can work for you because of this. It cannot work for you because of this. Try and rethink every time, and try and get also people from many different experiences, many different fields. Like if you're going into the art industry, it doesn't mean that just focus on the feedback that you get from the art industry. You'll get feedback from totally people who are totally outside of this industry, but suddenly who'll give you that little comment, which will be like, oh, yeah, that's how I should try and plan out. That's how I should try and focus and just rethink. Always rethink, persevere and rethink. That's the key to this job. I mean, it's why we decided to become entrepreneurs. And yeah, it's a lot. At first, it's all about, yeah, I'm just gonna do what I love doing. This is like great. I'm going to do it. I love doing this. I'm just gonna do this, and it's gonna be awesome. And then you realize that no, you're spending only like 20% of 20. Well, hopefully more. like 40% of your time doing the actual things that you really love doing. The rest of the time is everything that suddenly you have to do now. You have to think about.
Yeah.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, of course.
I just want to add one thing to my answer, and it's kind of simple, but be nice. Just be a nice person. Like it really, there are some businesses where being an asshole can really put you ahead. Sometimes I guess this one's not immune to that, but God, I'll make decisions on whether I want to collaborate with someone based on like how they treat the people serving coffee when we meet up. Be
And the
nice
home
to
paus they give.
right. All the money they give me, the bribes. Give bribes.
Give bribes.
To me specifically. But yeah, just be a nice person. Don't be a prick. Like it's pretty
Exactly.
simple, and that helps a lot.
It does. I completely, totally agree with you because sometimes
It opens all the
it is
doors.
true. Exactly. This is the concept of Guanxi in China, right? That everyone we always get reminded, right, about that concept. It's a concept that makes I believe is probably the most primary concept that makes companies here either fail miserably or go for the winning car, which is like the companies and the people really that own these companies who go and are nice to other people. They try to collaborate all the time. It's not always the mindset of I take, but like take and give, win and win, right? All this kind of concept, this kind of mindset is really what works in Shanghai, I believe. I completely agree. And because we're kind of running out of time, I'm gonna just make one last question that it was hard for me to choose because I have few questions here, so many that are really relevant and important to what we're talking about today. But I'm going to make a question that hopefully is going to help our audience, especially the ones who think about entrepreneurship and they have to do with art. Okay, so this is very relevant to the industry. So in your experience, what unique challenges do artist entrepreneurs face that other entrepreneurs from other industries they don't face? What would you say? I know it's a kind of a hard question, but are there unique challenges that if this is an entrepreneur related to art, it's gonna face this challenge, and other entrepreneurs perhaps not?
I kind of like I think not really. I mean, this is my personal opinion. I think every industry has a lot of difficulties, and of course, I can mention like all the difficulties that other people won't have, but those are not the main issues. The main issues are common for every industry. For example, I mean, it's all about in the art industry, like managing people, contacting people, making sure things work well, making sure kind of that things stay positive, that projects go from start to finish, how to get those working. I think all that is general for every industry, not just the art industry. Art industry, it's like I don't know, Charlie, if you have an opinion on what makes it this industry difficult. For me, really, it's yeah, you're dealing with a lot of egos in the art industry, but I think in every single industry you have like there's problems also.
Everyone, even the wine industry. I've been in the wine industry for 3 years, and God save me. It's like if we talk about ego, wow, my God, that's the worst, among the worst industries I've ever been. But I think Charlie would have something to add. For example, in terms of licensing and things like that, struggle that perhaps other industries they don't have that much. Like for example, I work as my company is based on consulting, so we don't really need to license that much or stuff like that. So we don't have this struggle that perhaps you might have. Can you share? Can you shed a light on that, Charlie? What do you think?
I don't know how much I should share. Can we put it that way? Do we understand what I mean when I say that? There's I think that there are like Desio said, there's some things that run as common threads across a lot of different industries.
Okay.
In terms of difficulties and challenges, I do think there are some things that are unique to the art industry. One of them is the tension between business and art, commerce and art. I mean, Desio and I have both mentioned that in Shanghai, it's kind of an essential, and it's a given. Actually, it's completely understood that this is the nature of the game, that artists have to work with brands, etc., etc., and it has to be monetized. That's quite different to the art industry in a lot of countries, certainly in
Yeah.
Western and
Absolutely.
Northern Europe and
Yes,
North
in
America.
Europe.
Yeah. And so in those places, there's a lot more skepticism on the part of artists towards towards artist managers, towards galleries, towards agents, towards venues and stuff like this, because they think they think that by slapping a particular price on their art, it's cheapening it in some way. But elements of that tension still exist here because, for instance, as an art agent, you do have to have some say in the perceived value of this work, and it's not like a bicycle where you can say, well, this bike is 50% faster than that bike, so I'm going to charge 50% more.
Yeah.
The fact that art is subjectively judged, it makes things very complicated, because then
Of course.
it really is a matter of like, oh, okay, this person, why is this being valued more than others, and or less than others, and is it a matter of ego, is it a matter of an experience, da 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 da. So there are some tensions, but yeah, there's a lot of common stuff. As for the other stuff, yeah, I mean, anywhere where you think, imagine you made a really good toaster, like this toaster, it just blows people away. They eat the toast afterwards and they're like, oh my God, I see the world in a completely different way. There are places where you can create a painting that might have that same effect, but you're not allowed to give people that toaster. So that creates certain issues.
Okay.
Like so for example, this I'm going to give an example just as a street artist in China. I totally agree with what Charley mentioned, how suddenly in some places maybe the people express a lot more and suddenly become a lot more critical to other works that are more what they would say reined in. For example, my personal work has evolved quite a bit to fit in a way the Chinese market. It has evolved in a way because, I mean, not necessarily to become, but just even for me, I've decided to suddenly, for example, I paint a lot of like flowers and brushes, and it's very gentle kind of work. Like I know I'm not going to get any issues. I've I find a lot of joy personally in painting those because for me it's the same. Like I don't view the subject as something that's very important. I view how I interpret it as important. So I I can paint a bottle of water or a flower or or whatever. Like it's not about the whole message that goes around. It's about how I paint that flower, how I paint that water. That's what's going to be my research into it. So I really have no trouble going into this kind of direction. But I know that if I'm in like Europe or in some places like in the US or something, it's more people want to have more meaning, like what they would say, like kind of like more meaningful for subjects that mean something, and they can like talk more, criticize some things. This is something which here in China is something which I would really recommend you do not do, and uh, and just like folks, I personally like with my art, it doesn't matter. I love painting, and for me, it's all about painting my own thing, my vision of what I'm painting,
Wow.
and
Okay.
commercially,
And what I see, I mean, from the viewer perspective, it to me doesn't sound bad at all that brands that you have to monetize your art by collaborating with brands, and because to what I would like to see is a world where there is more art around in commercial spaces and in commercial activities. So of course, the more the better from my point of view, right? So while I see the struggle of having to present value in art through collaborating with brands and so on, and put yourself at tag of how much this, how much that, right? I see the struggle of artists, but at the same time, I would say that it is really meaningful for us, for the audience who see this art. It is meaningful because it's making the world prettier, it's making the world better instead of so commercial otherwise, right? So in that terms, thank you for that. Thank you for being commercial with your art. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, we are running out of time. And that brings us to the end of the panel discussion, which is painful. But now let's give the audience the opportunity to ask questions and on our Q&A part. So if we're going to select these questions, if there are any questions, we're going to check the questions on the chat from the audience, and our guests are gonna be happy to answer them. Let's see if there are any questions here. Maybe there isn't. If there isn't, then I will throw a couple of questions here. Shanghai government. Okay, so it says, Paul, is your channel also available in English? Do you contact with foreign artists in China?
Like I mentioned, yes, absolutely. We with foreign artists in China, we work with them. With this color project, we brought a lot of artists. If you're an artist in China, contact me. I'd love to get to know you. I'd love to, just to talk, but to also see what your work is. So yes, our channel is unfortunately all in Chinese, but it's not. It's gotta translate it. I gotta do it. We had a website. It's kind of just a namesake, but we have our WeChat group, and that's our official WeChat account, which is Urban Art United. I can't write. I can't say my company's name in Chinese.
Oh, that is that's you. I can tell you are an artist.
But yeah, UAU Urban Art United, and look us up on the WeChat on the WeChat official challenge, and also I can contact. I'll be in the WeChat group for entrepreneurs. I can let my information there. But yeah, absolutely, we're totally open for foreign artists. We'd love to get to know.
Wow, that's good. And is there anyone from the audience who would like to ask any question? Please just throw the question in the chat. It says there is one M here. It says I scan, and it's all in Chinese. He scanned for the platform, and it's all in Chinese. So how to communicate? And he or she left a message for you. Okay. So is there anyone from the audience who would like to make any question? Let's see. If not, then I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna take the opportunity to throw a couple of questions here. While there is anyone asking, I'm just gonna go for it. So what then is the winning mindset for an artist to have in order to be successful, based on your opinion? Like for an art related entrepreneur here, what would be the winning mindset if you want to open business here in Shanghai?
Persevere and be calm. Be calm when facing all the issues that arise with all the formalities and paper that suddenly you realize that nobody told you had to get that paper signed as well. And and be careful about all what you need to, all the approvals that you got to make sure you have in every project. But yeah, just patience and and yeah, perseverance.
What about you, Charlie? What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that that's pretty much it. As long as you are authentic to who you are, while also understanding that you're gonna face some pretty unique challenges here, like Desio said, then you should be okay. But yeah, it's the same as just living, just be calm and be okay when things go in an unexpected direction. Also, something that Desio said earlier that is worth repeating, like try something, and if it doesn't work, then alter a little bit, try again. But then ultimately, if it really doesn't work, don't hold things too precious. Be adaptable. maybe it's not right for now.
I completely agree. Besides, I believe that China is one of the easiest spaces in the world for prototyping any project. So there's so many people that there is always a group of people interested on whatever you want to do, whatever. So it's like it's hard to actually find yourself in the position that whatever you feel passionate to do, no one's gonna be interested in China. The only thing that could happen, this could have easily happen in Spain, right? In my country, like it would easily happen that I want to play Celtic music and build a Celtic music community, which is my situation actually. And perhaps no one around the entire south of Spain would be interested because everyone is like dancing rumba and flamenco. But yeah, but that's the situation, right? But in China, it's like the worst case scenario is if you know how to find find the people, if you know your way around there, and you probably easily can find around 1 million people interested in whatever you want to do. So just prototype it, go for it. And if it fails, then doesn't matter, right? It just doesn't matter. You just adjust yourself, persevere again, like you said, Paul. And if it doesn't work again, try again and again, adjusting until it just completely works or doesn't work, and go do something else, right? So,
Trying brings change. Maybe
yeah.
I'm just saying, trying brings change. Like try. Maybe what you'll discover is just the ability to change a lot, and that is a new skill which will be great to have. Maybe it's not the end product, but it's the trip.
Absolutely. There is a question here from Hervé, and it says, what is the space for comic book artists in Shanghai and in China out of manga industry? Would you guys know about this?
There was there used to be a group that would meet every time, which was Shaving in the Dark. But I think unfortunately they've closed. They've the founder. So yeah, I think that community doesn't exist. There used to be a community here in Shanghai of like illustrators, drawers who would meet up. There was a group even before the Shaving in the Dark. There are some. I mean, probably right now a lot of them have closed technically, but yeah, you have some. And if you're Chinese, there are a lot of communities manga based and illustrators, but I personally don't know them. But yeah, I'm sure that, yeah, like you're fine.
I see.
Hey, Hervé.
Yes.
Oh, I was just saying hello to Hervé. He's one of the most talented illustrators I've seen in Shanghai.
Okay.
Yeah, like Desio said, there used to be Shaving in the Dark. It still exists, but it can't hold any activities anymore. It's not allowed. But it's right. But Hervé, if you have, sorry, this is a very specific answer, but if you have Gregor's contact from Idle Beats, he might know a few people because he was talking to me.
So what about you drop a line either on perhaps instead of the chat, drop a line in the WeChat group. So Hervé, please go ahead and go ahead and add yourself in the group, and perhaps in there we can just give him a hand to to
Also,
put him in
also
contact.
maybe
You
Morris.
probably know him, right?
Maybe
Yeah.
Morris also, no? Morris also, so we could probably have contacts in the in this forever.
This is
Who
what I'm
does?
talking about. That is
Uh,
why we are
yeah.
building the community, entrepreneurs
Yeah.
community, because it's just like so fast for people to just go and give you a hand and fix a problem that otherwise without this community, well, otherwise it might take you days to find out, right? So that's absolutely great. Let me give you one last question before we close the forum. A lot of people want to start their own business in Shanghai, and this is my own experience. I'm an entrepreneur already since 5, 6, 7 years, maybe 6, 7 years ago. And a lot of people, they actually come to me and they said, I want to start my business because I will have, for example, more time for myself. So based on your, let's shed a light on this for these entrepreneurs that are thinking to become an entrepreneur, right? So based on your own experience, what is it really the attraction to entrepreneurship? So because based on my experience, it certainly can be working less hours. All right. So what are the real benefits of entrepreneurship? Charlie, what do you think?
I used to agree with you, but I have to say, since burning out and taking a new approach,
Okay.
I think it is possible to have more time. You know, like you don't have to
We
do everything immediately. It
we
is
have to have
challenging.
a pint, you and me. We have to.
It all depends, like it all depends how you want to balance your ambition against your health and your personal relationships.
That's
Um,
true.
so if you're willing to sacrifice like you know, a little bit of ambition, not to say that you won't complete all the things you want to complete, but just maybe accept that they might take more time than you hope, then I think it is possible to have a decent work-life balance. I
All
certainly
right.
have I certainly have for the last few years, and my business has only been getting better and better. And honestly, I think the quality of the stuff that I've been doing is so much higher because of it. So
Of
it's
course.
but yeah, besides that, of course there are going to be weeks where you're working like crazy and you can't get to do anything else, and you just, when you finally sit down, you get a text and it's like, shit, I have to go and do something else now. But, and in those times, what's the benefit of it? It's independence, because even if you're working a load, you're still choosing the times at which you're doing which task. You have responsibility for yourself. You're not having your schedule decided by someone else. You're not, you're not as subject to what you might perceive as arbitrary decisions as you would be were you in a company. So I
And you
think,
are
yeah,
doing what you like. I mean, are you doing what you want to do?
hopefully.
I would say that's
Hopefully, yeah.
definitely the biggest for me. I find myself working sometimes 14 hours a day, but then it's not comparable to when I was working 8 hours a day doing something that I
Yeah.
really didn't want to do.
Yeah.
It's really not comparable. I mean, I'd rather earn half the money and
Mm.
work 16 hours a day doing what I really like, I think is helpful, and I love it, and I love what I'm doing, than work like 7 hours a day, earn quite good money, and just feel miserable every day because my life has literally no meaning. So that,
Mm.
in my case, right, in my scenario. What about you, Paul?
I kind of just totally agree with that last point. It's all about responsibility, and I think what's great is when you have your own company, you're responsible for it. That's what's scary. That's what's challenging. That's what makes it like difficult. But at the same time, that's what's great about it. It's, if it works, it's because of you. If it doesn't, it's kind of because of you also. and and it's all about, I mean, you're doing it, you're doing it. So the idea that it's not because everything around you can like totally mess up, and say if you work in a company and you could disagree with the main ideas, you disagree with your boss or whatever, and you end up doing things that are make you feel like shit. I think it's more, well, when you're your own boss and your own thing, you take your own time, you focus on what you want to focus, you take the responsibility. If you want to, you have a lot of work, you do a lot of work, you spend like 14, 15 hours you sometimes have crazy times. Then you have other times where you're like, well, whatever, I need to take a break. Well, I'm going to take my break. I'm going to live it like I want. And you take your own responsibility, and it's your fault if it works, if you pay the consequences, but that's fine. You decided to do it that way. So it's like, it's when you're your own boss, your own entrepreneur. Yeah, you have, of course, there's a difference between when you're really auto entrepreneur and you're just really 100% by yourself. So that you can really be just like your own decisions. And when you suddenly have to manage some people or discuss, then it becomes you end up taking on a lot of responsibilities that sometimes you would rather not really do. But still, in the end, you're responsible for what you succeed, and I think that's what's great. When it works, you feel like you feel over the top.
Completely
I'm super
agree.
happy I did it.
Me too. I'm also quite happy and excited for what's coming now, right? Because it's clear that Shanghai's opening is coming back to a point where we were kind of semi-normal, where how we were before, which is
I don't know how clear it is, but let's hope it goes that way.
It looks like that way. I think it looks like that way. So that really brings us to the point where unfortunately we don't have more time, and I would like to say that this is really about building a community that can really make a strong impact on people who want to do business in Shanghai. So we started the WeChat group, like I mentioned before, of entrepreneurs in Shanghai. And if you would like to enter the group, any of you in the audience would like to enter the group, please go ahead and scan the QR code that my colleague shared in the chat. And that brings us to the end of the webinar. And I would like to thank the audience and especially our guests for sharing with us so much. And I really love it. And I hope our audience has found the discussion as helpful and useful and enjoyed as much as I did. So thank you so much. And please don't forget to sign up for our WeChat official account for more cool webinars. And I wish you all a great week ahead. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks. It was a pleasure
David.
being here.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure. And thank you, everyone who listened to us.
Thank you very much. And see you, everyone, next time.
Bye-bye.